Alright, this is going to be install of the Brembo 4-pot front on 300ZX. Things you're going to need: 4 12mm 1.25 thread, 35mm long, 4 stainless steel light washers. It'd be 2 per side. I don't know where the bag went, but it's an M14 1.5 thread pitch and 14mm stainless steel light washers. That's a 19mm head, and that's 22mm head. As always, working on the Z, you'll need a 10mm, 12mm. Need a 370Z Sport rotor. This is the Z1 2-piece, 14-inch. And you'll need a 4-pot front Srt8 Brembo caliper. Also you'll need the adapter bracket, wrench. That stainless steel line is Top Tech 950.63004. I'll put a pic of it. I don't know where the bag went. And I'm not going to redo all the factory lines. You'll take your factory line loose here. And I've taken my brackets off. I don't want them hanging up on the line and stuff. Alright, so I'm gonna get started. First thing you'll do, take your wheel off, then remove the mount bolts there and there from your factory caliper. Pull the caliper for the rotor, and then pull your rotor. Remove all of your factory lines, and then you'll be pretty much at this point ready to get started. What we'll do is we'll take our 2 12mm bolts and put our adapter bracket on. Notice the little bend, I call it the dog leg, goes to the top, and you put it to the outboard side of the hub and put your bolts in from the inside. What you want to watch though is you don't want to get cocked. If it gets cocked, it'll put one of the other bolts in a bind. So as you can see up here, I just did a couple threads, and then we'll hand tighten it down until they're both snug. Prevent the bracket from getting cocked to an angle and putting the threads in a bind. Once you get them snubbed down, you'll want to tighten them. The torque specs will be in the file on the site. This bracket right here where the OE line was, you see that bolt there, and then this bolt up here, I'll be taking that off too, but it'll stay there for right now. Anyway, once you get the bracket up, you can see that the 35mm is just about right. That's a little anti-seize. I thought that might have been a shaving right there. Once you get that on, the next thing you want to do is put your rotor on. What you want to do when you put your rotor on, if they have, I don't know if your 1-piece will have these, but these Z1 2-piece have directional vane for rotor cooling, and they're not stamped which one's left or right, or marked, but you can look at it and you can see which way they angle. You want to angle it cutting to the front. You want the slot to fade away from the front. That way as it rotates, you'll send air through the rotor to cool it. Once you get it on there, put up a couple temporary nuts on it just to hold the rotor straight, and you can see what I was talking about. See how they're slotted, they're angled when the car is spinning. It catches the air. Okay, so now that you got the rotor on there, what you want to do is take your Brembo caliper with your 14mm 1.5 bolts and slide it down over the rotor and line it up with the bracket. The caliper lobe is going to go right there in the middle. So caliper lobes will go again to the outside. Alright, once you get the bolts in, start one, start the other, get them tightened down. If you have a 1-piece rotor, this brace bar, or whatever you want to call that, is not going to hit the hat. The Z1 2-piece though, the hat will rub just barely. See how it's pulling the paint? You have to take a grinder and with a sanding pad or something and just take just a little bit off so that it clears. Grinding rock, sanding pad, whatever. It's not much though, maybe 2 millimeters, 1/16 of an inch or something like that. But once you do that, then rotor clears just fine. And then next thing we're going to do is attach the stainless steel brake line. Alright, once you get your stainless steel line connected up top, and you put your retainer clip back in that slot right there, you want to make sure you get that tight. Then some people are putting that tab like right here on the shock. If you got coilovers and you no longer have that tab, I've been using that spot. I put my line to where it's straight up. I'll show you what it looks like there, and I'll show you what it looks like mounting it there. Here it is mounted on the shock tab. That's a 10 millimeter bolt, by the way. And you can see how it kind of angles nicely down to that. And then you've got your slack. If you leave it there, you might want to angle your line toward that point. That way you have more slack. Once you get it like right here, don't tighten that. Don't torque that yet. Turn your wheel full lock all the way to the left on the driver's side, and on the passenger side you'll want to turn it full lock to the right, and just position the line where you have the most slack for whatever spot you use. I took the bracket off and put that bolt back right there. Put that one back because it's holding that, as well as the bracket, and then you'll reuse this one up here. It's a 12 millimeter. Put the 10 millimeter bolt back, and we got our line at that top tab, and then it goes down there. You can see we have this slack to clear the wheel. You want to go full lock to lock, make sure you got enough slack. I went ahead and got in my car and unlocked the steering wheel. There it is at full lock, and you can see mounted to the top we got plenty of slack. And it would be the same way if you mounted it there. If I had stayed with the 4-pot, that's where I was planning on mounting it. And you can see why I took those brackets out of the equation, because whenever you turn full lock the other way, your slack will want to loop. I didn't want to take the chance of anything getting hung up. Now we're full lock the other way, and you can see how it want to arch up the slack. So you can see how it's close to that bracket, where that bracket would have been. I just got it out of the way. You can bend yours, take yours off, do whatever you want. Again, all the torque spec be in the write-up, part numbers, part descriptions, whole 9 yards. Once you've got everything there, positioned how you want it, you'll want to tighten everything down, torque everything down, remove your temporary nuts off your rotor, bleed your brakes before you put your wheel on. So after you do one side, do the other side, and then bleed your brake, then put your wheels on. And then you're done. That's it. 4-pot's pretty easy. No grinding mod unless you got the 2-piece rotors. Again, you can see where it's just barely grabbing right in there, right there. Just barely grabbing the paint, so you don't have to take off much. You may want to do that before painting your rotors. That way when you paint them, you can cover that back up and nobody would never know. That's it though. Good pad coverage, sits down nicely on the rotor. So that's it, 4-pot install.